So Brooks Koepka and Dustin Johnson. You can't go wrong with either one of them, both heading to the Hall of Fame for sure. What they share in common is a very similar ball flight. They both play fades, but they do it with different mechanisms. So right after this, let's examine the way they both hit their fades, not only because it'll teach us how to hit this shot, but also how to teach us to get out of it if we're fading too much or slicing. So stay tuned. So what Koepka and DJ share, besides being big and strong, is their ability to fade the ball, which I think helps them make the fairway a bit wider in major championships. And that's why one of the reasons I think they've had so much success in majors, where the fairways tend to get tighter and the rough tends to get taller. But they do it with different mechanisms. So first, let's take a look at Brooks Koepka. Brooks Koepka is going to hit a fade. And you'll see this, I've got the slow-mo here on the screen of him hitting the ball. You'll see what he does is he actually pulls the handle with his left arm. So you can see a little bit of a break at the elbow as he comes into impact, as his legs kind of go a little quiet right before impact. And he does something like a handle pull this way, pulls the handle ahead with his arms, and that enables him to easily leave the face slightly open to the path. Also enables him to hit down on the ball and get a lot of compression and kind of more of a penetrating ball flight than most players. But that's the technique that he uses. So he aims a little bit left, swings a little bit outside in, leaves the face slightly open to the path to get it to fade back to center again with his mechanism, a little bit of a handle pull this way. Now Dustin Johnson achieves kind of the same path and face numbers, not quite as outside in and downwards. He's a little bit more neutral, but he plays a little bit of a fade still, but he does it differently. He does it more with his hands. He does it with a late flap of the right hand. That means that the club face just won't square up to that path at the moment of impact. So if you took a look at just a regular swing, I'd be trying to straighten out this right wrist like this by the time I reach impact, like that. And maybe just have a little bit. But what he does is he flaps that wrist late like this. So he holds that. So you see, even on a driver, like you're seeing on the video up on the screen, that on a driver, he'll even show a little bit of forward lean. And that's because the right wrist, well, it is going to flap and let go, and he's one of the best at doing that, at being very free through impact. But he's just stimulating that just a little bit later, so he arrives at impact with a little more of a forward-leaning shaft. And a little bit of an open face, open to the path, not to the target. That makes the ball fade right back to the center line again. So two very distinct ways of hitting a fade. Let me show you a third. This is the shot that was shown to be by my mentor, Mike Austin. And he had a third way of fading the ball with a full release. So Mike told us not to delay the uncocking of the wrist, but really go from the top of the swing this way. And so to leave the face slightly open to the path, all I'm going to do is, instead of having my forearm bones of my right arm kind of stacked vertically one on top of each other, I'm going to supinate just a couple degrees so that my pinky side of my hand is a little bit closer to target this way. If you were pitching wiffle ball, it would be the same way. You would throw a screwball to kind of backdoor a right-hand hitter. So notice I've supinated this forearm a bit, and I'm going to full flap on time this way, but it's going to leave the face just a bit open to the path. Let me see if I can demonstrate and actually hit a ball that fades back towards the center. Here we go. That's a pretty good little fade. So again, the way I did that shot was I opened up my feet just a little bit to account for the curve I was planning on getting. And instead of allowing the pronation to stack these arm bones one on top of another, just like this, like if you were shaking hands. Imagine shaking hands, but you're gonna just supinate. That means turn your forearm this way, and now my pinky is kind of in the lead, and just a couple degrees like that as I fully flap the right wrist through and throw the club like this. So I think you can get a little bit more distance and height out of a full release fade like that. So that is a third different way that you could hit a fade. So of course, hitting a nice gentle fade is a difficult shot to master. You've got to practice it quite a bit. But looking at those three mechanisms, it can give us an idea on how we might correct an overfade, in other words, a slice. And if you are tending to leave the face too open, you could come back to one of these three mechanisms and do some checkpoints, do some troubleshooting. So one way that people can slice the ball or leave the face open is by pulling down from the top, like Brooks Koepka, only more severely. And what that's doing is it's not allowing the club to come around and square up. So if you pull the handle down like this, often you're going to present the face like this with the handle way ahead. So rather than pulling, you'd rather throw the head out from the start of the swing and try to avoid the instinct to pull down with the handle. Now in the case of Dustin Johnson, and this goes for other people, they do too much of it, is hold on to the right wrist all the way through, and they never throw the club head at all. They never inject any active torquing motion into that club head coming down. So what happens? They end up like this, their wrist usually from squeezing really tight, you end up like this, and there again is your overly open face, and the ball slices off to the right. Now in the third case, a lot of people, they also don't pronate the right forearm enough through the impact zone. They'll leave the forearm in this position, and again you see how it's going to come in. Even if I try to let this thing go, if I've got my forearm supinated too much through the impact zone, I'm going to present an open face to the ball and it's going to slice. So those are three great checkpoints. If you're having a difficult time with your ball curving off to the right, you could give those three ideas a try. I would try to videotape it from the face on, videotape yourself or have a friend do it, and check individually on each of those three ideas, and hopefully you'll be able to find a solution very quickly, find the fix to that problem very quickly. All right, I'm going to go back and work on that power fade a little bit more. It's a really pretty shot to hit. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Steve, and as usual, I'll either see you in the next video or I'll see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Everybody take good care.